I never imagined I'd be that mother-in-law, the one who becomes the punchline in her daughter-in-law's comedy routine, the antagonist in family gatherings, the reason therapists stay in business. At 50, I'd built a life I was proud of. A successful career in interior design, a circle of good friends, and enough self-awareness to know that controlling other people's lives was a losing game. When Adrian announced his engagement to Lila, I made myself a promise. I would not micromanage, I would not nitpick, and I would absolutely not become the villain in this young woman's story. That resolution lasted approximately 3 weeks into their marriage. Celeste, you have to see this, Marlene whispered one morning, peering through my kitchen window like we were conducting surveillance. My neighbour, a transplant from Minnesota with a wicked sense of humour and zero filter, had become my unofficial therapist since Adrian and Lila moved into the house next door. The house I'd helped them buy. The house that was supposed to represent their fresh start. I joined her at the window, coffee mug in hand. Through the gauzy curtains of their living room, I could see Lila, sprawled on the couch in pyjamas at 11 in the morning. Phone held above her face, scrolling with the dedication of someone conducting important research. The breakfast dishes from what must have been yesterday were still visible on the coffee table. "That's the 3rd day this week," Marlene said, not unkindly. "Honey, I love you, but you might need to intervene before your son comes home to a condemned property." I sighed. This wasn't new. Since the wedding 4 months ago, I'd watched the pattern develop, Lila waiting for me to handle things, expecting service, making excuses wrapped in tradition. "A mother-in-law should take care of these things," she'd said last week when I'd asked why she hadn't started dinner despite being home all day. "That's how my family did it." I'd smiled tightly and left before saying something I'd regret. The truth was, I didn't know how to handle this without becoming exactly what I'd sworn not to be. Every time I considered saying something, I heard my own mother's voice in my head, sharp, critical, impossible to please. I'd spent my 20s recovering from that kind of parenting. I wouldn't inflict it on someone else, but I also wouldn't let my son drown in domestic chaos while his wife scrolled through social media. That evening, Adrian appeared at my door. My son had inherited his father's gentle eyes and my stubborn streak, a dangerous combination. He looked exhausted, his tie loosened, briefcase sagging against his leg. "Mom, can we talk?" I poured him a glass of wine without asking. We settled into my living room, the one I'd designed with clean lines and calming neutrals, everything in its place. The contrast to his own home wasn't lost on either of us. "I don't know what to do," he said finally, swirling the wine he hadn't tasted. "I love her. You know I do. But I come home and nothing's been done. She says she's tired or she'll do it later, or that it's not traditional for wives to do everything themselves." He looked up at me miserable, and maybe she's right. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe I should just accept that this is how it'll be. Do you want to accept it? No. The word came out sharper than he'd intended. I want a partner, someone who shares the load. I work 10 hours a day. I can't come home and do everything while she tells me about TikTok videos. I chose my words carefully. "Have you told her this?" "I've tried. She cries, says I don't appreciate her, that I want her to be someone she's not, that I knew who she was when we got married." He ran a hand through his hair. "Maybe I did. Maybe I thought it would change, and that's on me." "Or maybe," I said slowly, "she doesn't know how to be different because no one's taught her. Maybe she's afraid to try because failing seems worse than not trying at all." Adrian looked at me with something like hope. "So what do I do?" "You? Nothing. This isn't your job." I stood, decision crystallizing. "But it might be mine. With your permission, let me try something. I promise I won't berate her or make her feel small. But I also won't enable this, Adrian. She's an adult. It's time she learned to be one." He nodded, relief flooding his features. "Please, Mum. Help me make her more independent without breaking her spirit." The next morning, I knocked on their door at 9 o'clock. Lila answered in the same pyjamas from yesterday, hair in a messy bun, eyes still puffy with sleep. "Oh, Celeste. Hi." She stepped aside automatically, probably expecting me to bustle in and start cleaning like I had those first few weeks, back when I'd told myself I was just helping them settle in. I didn't move. "Lila, can we talk? I have something for you." She blinked, confused, but led me to the kitchen. The breakfast dishes had multiplied. The counter was sticky with what looked like jam. A load of laundry had been sitting in the washing machine so long I could smell it from the doorway. I set my purse on the only clear spot on the counter and pulled out a small box. Inside were a set of house keys, duplicates I'd had made when they'd first moved in, just in case. "These are for you," I said, placing them in her palm. She stared at them. "I already have keys." "I know, but these are different. These are the keys to your responsibility." I kept my voice gentle but firm. "Lila, I'm not going to clean for you anymore. I'm not going to do your laundry or make sure there's dinner ready or manage this household. From now on, you are in charge here." Her face crumpled slightly. "But I mean, traditionally. Traditionally, a lot of things happen that don't make sense anymore," I interrupted. "Traditionally, women couldn't vote or own property or choose their own lives. Tradition isn't always a good reason." I softened my tone. "This is your home, yours and Adrian's, not mine. And how you live in it, that's your choice. You can keep it neat or live in chaos. But your husband won't live in chaos, Lila. Eventually something will break. And I think you know that." She looked down at the keys, tears pooling. "I don't know how to do all this." "Then you'll learn. One thing at a time." I reached over and squeezed her hand. "I'm not abandoning you. If you need help or advice, I'm here. But I won't do the work for you. That helps neither of us." I left before she could argue, before I could second-guess myself, before the guilt could set in. Over the next 2 weeks, I held my ground. When Lila texted asking how long to roast chicken, I sent her a link to a recipe. When she called asking if I could watch a load of laundry for her, I said I was busy. When she showed up at my door with a financial question, I invited her in and we sat down with a notebook. "Okay," I said, clicking my pen. "Show me your bank statement from last month." She pulled it up on her phone, reluctant. I scanned the purchases. DoorDash 3 times a week, online shopping from stores I'd never heard of, subscription services she'd forgotten she had. "Do you use all of these?" I asked, pointing to the subscriptions. "I mean, not really. I thought I'd use them more." "Cancel them, right now while we're sitting here." I waited while she fumbled through the process. "Now, let's talk about budget. How much money comes in each month?" We spent 2 hours building a simple system. Nothing complicated, just categories for needs versus wants, a savings goal, a rule about waiting 24 hours before any purchase over $50. "Before you buy something," I told her, "ask yourself 3 questions. Do I need it? How long will I use it? Does it actually benefit me?" I met her eyes. "You're not a child, Lila. You can buy what you want, but you should want things that make your life better, not just fill empty time." She nodded slowly, something shifting in her expression. Not quite understanding, but getting there. The laundry incident came a week later. She appeared at my door with a basket of dirty clothes and that expectant look I'd come to recognize. "Celeste, could you just—" "No." I said it gently, but without room for negotiation. "Lila, I've been doing laundry for 30 years. I've earned my retirement from other people's socks. Now it's your turn. You can do it for your husband. You can do it for yourself." She flushed, embarrassed, maybe a little angry. But she took the basket and left. 20 minutes later, I heard my phone buzz. A text from her. "What setting for colours?" I smiled and texted back instructions. Small victories. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. I was having coffee with Marlene on my patio when she leaned in, conspiratorial. "I saw your daughter-in-law crying on her porch yesterday afternoon." My stomach dropped. Crying? Not sobbing or anything dramatic, just sitting there with tears running down her face, staring at nothing. Marlene studied me. I know what you're doing and I think it's smart. But honey, maybe check in. Make sure you're teaching and not just punishing. The word stung because part of me wondered if it was true. Was I helping or just withholding support out of frustration? That evening I texted Adrian. Can we talk? Not about what you think. He called immediately. Is everything okay? I need to know something and I need you to be honest. Is Lila okay? Emotionally, I mean. There was a long pause. I think she's struggling. She won't really talk to me about it, but she seems, I don't know, defeated? She said something the other day about feeling stupid about how she can't do anything right. My heart clenched. Did she say why she feels that way? She said. He hesitated. She said she feels like she can't measure up to you, that you're so competent and put together and she's just not. And now that you've stopped helping, she thinks it's because you've given up on her. Oh no, that wasn't it at all. But I could see how she'd think it. I'd been so focused on not enabling her that I hadn't considered how my withdrawal might look through her eyes. Not like teaching, but like abandonment. Like confirmation that she wasn't good enough. I'd been so determined not to be my mother, critical and controlling, that I'd swung too far in the other direction and become absent. Adrian, I need to talk to her. Tomorrow. Can you make sure she's home around 2? Yeah, of course. Mum, thank you. For caring. For trying. The next afternoon, I showed up at their door with 2 cups of expensive coffee and a bag of the chocolate croissants Lila had mentioned loving once. When she opened the door, surprise flickered across her face. Can I come in? I asked. I brought a peace offering. We settled on her couch, the one that was now relatively clear of clutter. I noticed the dishes were done, the laundry folded in a basket nearby. She was trying. God, she was trying. Lila, I owe you an apology. She blinked. What? No, you don't. Yes, I do. I've been teaching you independence, but I haven't been teaching you with kindness. I've been so afraid of becoming a controlling mother-in-law that I went too far the other way. I made you feel abandoned when what I wanted was for you to feel empowered. Her eyes filled with tears. I just feel so stupid compared to you. You know how to do everything. You're successful and stylish and confident, and I'm just me. I don't know how to be an adult like you are. And when you stopped helping, I thought it meant you'd given up because I wasn't worth the effort. I set down my coffee and took her hands. Lila, listen to me. I don't want you to be a mini version of me. The world doesn't need 2 Celestes. One is probably more than enough. That got a watery laugh. I don't want you to measure yourself against me or anyone else. I just want you to be good in your own way. Whatever that looks like for you. But I don't even know what that is, she whispered. Then we'll figure it out together. But here's the thing. Being an adult means learning independence. Not for me, not for Adrian, but for yourself. Because you deserve to feel capable. You deserve to trust yourself. You deserve to build a life where you're not waiting for someone else to handle things. She nodded, tears spilling over. I'm so scared of failing, of trying and still not being good enough. Of course you are. Everyone is. I squeezed her hands. But you know what's scarier? Never trying. Living your whole life thinking you can't do things because you never gave yourself the chance to learn. You're stronger than you think, Lila. I see it. Adrian sees it. Now you just have to see it too. She fell into my arms, crying in earnest now. Not sad tears, but the kind that come with release. Like she'd been holding her breath for months and could finally exhale. I don't want to be the villain in your story, I murmured into her hair. And I don't want you to be the failure in mine. So let's just try again. As a team this time. The transformation wasn't immediate, nothing real ever is. But over the following weeks, I watched Lila emerge from the cocoon of helplessness she'd wrapped herself in. She started small, making dinner twice a week, keeping the kitchen clean, managing their grocery budget. I was there to answer questions but not to take over, to guide but not to control. One evening, she called me, pride evident in her voice. Celeste, I made a pot roast. Like, from scratch. And it's actually good. Adrian said it's better than the restaurant version. That's wonderful. See? You're learning. Will you come over and try it? I made enough for everyone. Marlene too, if she wants. So we gathered around their table, Adrian beaming, Lila nervous but glowing, Marlene providing running commentary on how domestic Lila had become. The pot roast really was excellent. More importantly, the house felt different. Lived in, but cared for. Like a home instead of a museum or a disaster zone. As we cleaned up afterward, all of us working together, Lila bumped my shoulder with hers. Thank you, she said quietly, for not giving up on me, for teaching me instead of just judging me. Thank you for being willing to learn. That took more courage than you know. The financial turnaround came next. 3 months after our budget conversation, Lila showed me her savings account. She'd managed to put away nearly $1,500. I cancelled all those subscriptions, she explained, and I started meal planning so we're not ordering out constantly, and I wait the full day before buying anything unnecessary. Turns out I don't actually want most of the stuff I used to think I needed. How does it feel? She considered. Powerful, actually, like I'm in control instead of just reacting all the time. By the 6-month mark, their household had found its rhythm. Lila and Adrian had worked out a division of labor that felt fair to both of them. She handled most of the daily household management because she was home more, but he contributed on weekends and never expected to come home to a servant. They grocery shopped together, planned meals together, made decisions together. They'd become actual partners. One Saturday morning, I found Lila on my doorstep with fresh muffins and an uncertain smile. "Do you have time for coffee?" she asked. "I wanted to talk to you about something." We settled in my kitchen and she took a breath. "I've been thinking about going back to school, maybe getting a degree in early childhood education. I love kids and I think I'd be good at it, and I don't know. I want to do something for myself. Build something that's mine." Pride swelled in my chest. "That sounds perfect for you. What does Adrian think?" "He's excited. He said we'd make it work financially, especially since I've gotten so much better at budgeting." She paused. "I couldn't have even thought about this 6 months ago. I would have been too scared to try, too convinced I'd fail. And now? Now, I think maybe failing isn't the worst thing. Not trying, that's worse." She met my eyes. "You taught me that." "You taught yourself. I just pointed you in the right direction." She reached across the table and took my hand. "Celeste, you're not just a mother-in-law to me. You're like a life mentor. Someone who saw me struggling and helped me find my way instead of just telling me what to do or walking away completely." I felt tears prick my eyes. "I tried really hard not to be the villain," she laughed. "You succeeded. You're actually kind of the hero." A year into their marriage, I watched Lila host Thanksgiving dinner. She'd planned the menu, shopped for ingredients, coordinated everything. The table was beautiful, the food delicious, and she navigated it all with a confidence I never would have predicted that first morning when I'd handed her those keys. As we sat down to eat, Adrian raised his glass. "I want to make a toast to my wife, who's grown so much this year, and to my mom, who taught us both that real love means helping people become their best selves, not just accepting them at their worst." Lila's eyes met mine across the table. In them, I saw gratitude, yes, but also something more valuable, self-respect. She'd discovered she was capable, and that knowledge had changed everything. Later, as Marlene and I loaded the dishwasher while Lila and Adrian handled the leftovers, my friend nudged me. "You did good, Celeste. You threaded a hell of a needle there, teaching without crushing, pushing without pushing away." I just tried to remember what it felt like to be young and scared and convinced I couldn't measure up. Most people forget that. Most people become exactly what they hated. She dried a wineglass thoughtfully. "You broke the cycle. That's worth celebrating." That night, alone in my quiet house, I reflected on the journey. I thought about my own mother-in-law, who'd never spoken a kind word to me in 20 years. I thought about my mother, whose approval I'd chased until I was 35 and finally realised it would never come. I thought about all the ways we inherit pain and have to choose whether to pass it on or let it end with us. I'd chosen to let it end. To be the mother-in-law I'd wished for instead of the one I'd learned to expect. To teach instead of criticise. To guide instead of control. To believe in someone's potential instead of just judging their present. It hadn't been easy. There had been moments when I'd wanted to take over, to fix everything myself because it would be faster and better. Moments when I'd wondered if I was being too harsh or not harsh enough. Moments when I'd questioned everything. But seeing Lila now, confident, capable, building a life she was proud of, I knew it had been worth it. Every difficult conversation, every time I'd held back from helping, every lesson taught with patience instead of judgment. I'd set out not to be the villain, but I'd discovered something better, being the mentor, the guide, the safe place to learn and grow and occasionally fail, being the person who believed in her when she couldn't yet believe in herself. And in helping Lila find her independence, I'd found something too. Proof that cycles can be broken, that hurt doesn't have to be hereditary, that love can look like boundaries and teaching someone to stand on their own. My phone buzzed with a text from Lila. "Thank you again for today. I couldn't have done it without everything you taught me. Love you, Mom." I smiled, warmth spreading through my chest. Not Celeste, not mother-in-law, Mom. I typed back, "You did it yourself. I just believed in you until you could believe in yourself. So proud of you. Love you too." And I meant every word. Because the best way to love someone isn't to do everything for them or demand they become who you want them to be. It's to see who they could become and help them get there, not by carrying them, but by teaching them to walk on their own. I'd refused to be the villain in Lila's story. Instead, I'd become something better. The supporting character who helped her become the hero of her own life. And that, I thought as I turned off the lights and headed to bed, was a role worth playing.